Hello, hello, everyone. Today is
Hello.
basically Joseph's day.
Yeah.
Alex and I we are just basically going to learn on this call because we are also looking up to drink from the wealth of Joseph's business experience
That's like
river.
that.
It
That's
that way.
like
When you
that.
put it that way, you're now making me feel weird.
Uh,
I, I,
this
I,
is
I'm still, I, I always feel uncomfortable with the thing of being seen as an expert or something like that. So
you're an expert. You have loads of experience. For heaven's sake, Jesus.
that's true. That's true.
You know,
That's true.
it's one thing for somebody to have an idea. It's another
Yeah.
thing for
Yeah,
somebody to be able to process the idea.
process that idea.
Another
Yes,
thing for somebody to be able to process the idea and now make it a source of
attractive.
income. Not even like a source of
Exactly.
income that will give. Like it's a whole different thing. There's so many people out there watching this. They have good ideas. They have everything about them is good, but they don't know how to process and just figure out, okay, this is what I can do to make sure this gives me constant source of income. Starting up a business. But you just
Yes.
have like sometimes I won't lie. I know yes, it's not everybody that might own a business, but I won't lie. Sometimes I really admire people who own businesses because I'm like, I
It's
have
not
ideas.
easy.
Like I have some ideas. I'm like, man, this idea, I think about it like this,
Yeah.
man, I can be
Yeah.
the next Elon Musk. But I'm like,
Yeah.
nah, you're not going anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard. It's hard. It's
Again.
hard. Right? Very hard.
And at the end of the day, you get to see somebody who is able to process his own and make it a reality. Be like, man, I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
I need some learnings from here. I really do need some learning. So, Joseph,
so
student,
so you shouldn't feel
what
weird.
student? What
You're right.
students?
You guys are right. You guys are right. You guys are right.
You should take it as a thing of joy. Let me not say
True.
as a
True.
thing
That's
of
true.
joy.
Yeah. That's true.
Yes.
I think I understand Joseph to some extent. He doesn't really Joseph doesn't like teaching people. You know,
Yeah.
you used to say it. He doesn't like teaching people.
But Joseph is one of the best teachers out there. Like let's just remove like sentiments, like he knows
Mm-hmm.
how to
Yes.
break things down, so like when he break those things down you will easily understand compared to, and it's just weird you saying that he does not like teaching, like when you know you're a good teacher. Or I think or maybe you go into academia maybe later in life. Just
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Anyway,
because
it's one thing for you to know.
I've seen your short
It's,
TikTok videos and they are
it's
really
one
good.
thing. It's one thing for you to know how to teach. It's another thing for you to have patience in teaching. I
True.
think it's
True.
that
Well,
patience Joseph does not have.
Yes. Yes.
Teaching
Yes.
can
It's
be frustrating.
I don't have the patience, like zero.
Mhm.
Break down things, I can break down ideas, I can explain things with like clarity, right? But then I expect one of my weaknesses. I expect everyone to catch up very very fast, like very fast, right? So that becomes the me teaching, but explaining things I can explain things. That one I can do. So all right, let's get into it.
So,
but I
Yeah,
think
go
the
ahead.
community will learn today. I just think they'll
yeah,
learn today because
Awesome.
now the videos are going to be there for them to go and rewatch and rewatch and rewatch and rewatch on YouTube. So
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't think it's going to be a problem if you don't understand. You go back and rewatch. You go back and rewatch. So it just
nice.
helps you that way. But I think before we jump into the questions, I just have a question. What made you want to start a business? Basically,
Hmm.
like I know that people will be like, oh, I was sleeping and God spoke to me in my ears. And they have one very, very spectacular story.
Yeah,
But I just
yeah,
want to know, yeah. Yeah, so because people actually want to start businesses from hearing people say how they start their business. So I think we should just put that down to the ground and yeah. What made you start your business?
yeah. I think it's for me. It's a combination of things, right? So, um, when I was a kid, so my dad had like the first electrical and mechanical consulting and electrical and mechanical engineering consulting company in Tanzania, right? So I was born in Tanzania. So he had the first company there. To me, that's like just like the thing you don't see that's influencing you, but you don't see it. And then my dad's dad had like, the usual old school things of like massive farms. He was doing coffee, plantains, you have beans, maize, and timber, right? So massive, plantations. So he had that. So it's for me. I would say the first thing is like because I saw my dad, starting his first company. Like he started his first company and da da da, and it became very successful. So when we were kids, we used to go to the office and do that. So I wanted to have something like that, right? And then of course life went south, right? So when I was 9, everything went upside down, right? My dad's company collapsed and went to the village, right? And in the village, these village kids heading cattle and all that stuff, became rough. We're out of school.
Sorry. Okay. You sold cattle. I was like,
Yes, we were
oh
heading
boy.
cattle, in the bush. Those village kids, right? Coming from the city all the way to like village kids. We did that for 2 years. And then, so my mom is separated and whatever. So in my mind, I was like, okay, what do I do as a kid? What do you do to like kind of fix the chaos? And as a kid, you can't work, you can't do much. So when we were there, this is like 2001 and 2002. 2001, we
Mm-hmm.
were just confused, and all that. 2002, completely confused. But then my mom was like, look, like called us, and she was like, look, your dad's not gonna come back. You guys are in your granddad's ranch, but the ranch is going broke as well. That's why you're heading cattle. You can't afford shepherds and all that. No one is gonna take you guys to school. Like you guys are out of school. No one's gonna take us to school. Do you guys want us? Because this is our ranch. You want us to stay here and become village people and try to sell coffee and all that, or do you want us to crawl our way out by, moving to this nearest town and starting a life from scratch, right? So now I give you context first. How did my dad's company go under? So my dad's company started in 1981, collapsed 2001, so 20 years. How did it go under? Yeah, 20 years. So how did it go under? When my dad was in college, like undergrad, this is like 1972, right? All the way back in the day. $1 was equal to one Tanzanian shilling, right? So very good economy. Things are doing well. By 1981, when he started a company, $1 was equal to 8 Tanzanian shillings, which means that's like an 8-fold collapse, right? 20 years later, $1 was equal to 1,000 Tanzanian shillings. From 8 to 1,000. So that was a 12,400% in currency devaluation.
Valuation.
So, and you haven't counted inflation. That's the independent of inflation. Now you add inflation on top of that. So even when he was increasing prices 20%, whatever year over year, you can increase prices all you want, but you're still going to go bankrupt because the store of value, the way you're holding money in your bank account, is just evaporating. So that's like 99.2% of his net worth in those 20 years. Now, you guys have seen what happened like in the last couple of years where the US dollar has lost value. A lot of currencies around the world have lost value. Even the Naira has lost value by 4x. By 4x. So if you're holding Naira, it just evaporates. Like it's just evaporating, right? So those are the dangers of operating in a like developing country. So now, fast forward, we're in the village. In the villages in Africa, there's no money. Like there's zero money. You eat because you farmed your things. So like, where do you get energy source? It's just firewood, right? So you go to the bushes and firewood. Where do you get water? Back then, there's no water pump or anything like that. You go to a spring, right, and fetch water. How do you eat? You grow food yourself. So there's no money. There's no situation. So my mom was like, okay, we need to go to the nearest town, but how do you get the money to go to the nearest town? We knew, okay, what are the events that are happening in the village? There was a school there. My granddad gave them land, so they built a school. The Swedish guys built a school. So they were having like a 10-year or whatever anniversary. at that school, so a lot of people are coming. So that, okay, that's an opportunity. Coming for 1 week, so that's an opportunity. What can we serve? That's the market, right? But what can we serve to that market? So my mom is a very good cook, right? And she had this book called Food for 50. She had a lot of like recipe books, but this specific one is called Food for 50. And has a lot of recipes. When we were, back in our heyday, when things was great, we used to make cakes and muffins and all sorts of things. So in this case, like, we can't make a cake. You can make, like, you have to think of like, what kind of snack, breakfast snack can we make? So like, we want to serve breakfast, but we can't make
Yeah.
normal food that people are used to because we won't be able to compete. So we'll find a thing from this book that we can make, whose ingredients are available in the village, that we can make, that no one in the entire place has ever, tasted. And all these guys
Tasted,
from
okay.
the city have ever tasted. So we can sell. And that was a donut, right? So donuts,
Yeah.
in most of these countries, people don't know donuts. What they call donuts is just a fake bun with a hole in it. It's not a donut, right? So my mom made real donuts, and we borrowed things, both like maize flour, cooking oil, and so forth from the nearest shop, right? And then we made the donuts early mornings, like 4 a.m. in the morning, 5 a.m. making donuts. Cooked milk tea. Took the chairs from our house, put them on the roads, set up the thing, and then that was like our quote unquote fake restaurant, outdoor restaurant. We sold out by like 10 a.m. Everything had sold out. All donuts, all tea, like everything just sold out. So we made our money, and we sold it at a higher price, but we sold out. So went, paid back the shop, and so on, right? So that was for me. That was a massive demonstration of, you don't have capital, you have a skill, you don't have resources, but you pick based on the market. You pick what kind of product or service can you deliver that's super differentiated in a market that you're in, that you can make quick cash with the resources that you have. The chairs in your house, you have like chairs in your house, that's a restaurant. We have cows, so we could get milk and make milk tea. Sugar and all that you borrow from the shop. 10 a.m. made all our profits, paid back. We did that same next day. Throughout the week, we got the money. So eventually we moved out of the village. We just left and went to the nearby city and started life, right? And life was like, low life. So we started in like one room, one door. Like Africa, one room is not like America. Americans talk about one room as a room with a kitchen and a living room. Back there, it's like
Everything,
one
full package.
room. You open like this, you see literally one window, mattress there, 4 kids, and all that. So it's that life there. And my mom was teaching like tuition, like evening classes, and making like $5 a month teaching tuition. And we
Whoa.
sell, my brother and I would sell fish. So you get fish, you chop it in 3 pieces, you get the chopped pieces, and then you fry them, you sell them at the market. Did that. So all of that stuff for me is like, okay, how do you generate like, income? In that case, it was like you have $5 from teaching tuition. How do you supplement that income? And then we're like, okay, teaching tuition $5 is not sustainable. We need to be like, need mom to go to a teacher's college so she can become like a formal, like a formal teacher, government job and all that.
Teacher.
Yes. So we end up doing that, a couple of years later, moved to another town, and my mom was doing a government job. Like, it was paying nothing, $35 a month, right? When she started. So same route. She's in a school with a staff room, right? So like, okay, teachers in the staff room, those are a market. They have salaries, the rest, so that's a market, right? We do the same trick we've done, which is cooking snacks for the teachers. So cooked snacks. My younger siblings are going with mom at the same school, so they're cleaning the snacks. She's selling the snacks to the teachers, which that income is supplementing the $35 salary, right? And then the problem was making snacks. Only one person in our house can make snacks. That's my mom. We all could cook, but we can't make like this. Like when people make snacks, there's this thing that they have, right? So making snacks consumes a lot of energy, right? The profit margin, not like the best in the world. And it's not something my mom wants to do like every single day, making snacks, right? You're coming from teaching and then you're tired, and then it's morning, you have to make snacks, you wake up at 3 a.m., 4 a.m. It's ridiculous. So, like, okay, so what thing can we try out instead of making snacks that could supplement the income such that we can stop making? That was teaching evening classes to the primary school kids at home, right? So mom would go to a normal job, do your job until 4 p.m. or whatever it is, come back home. The kids who are in the last year or 1 year before the last year of primary school would come home. She teaches them like tuition, right? Which she likes because she likes teaching. And we, my brother and I, our siblings would also be taught. So we did tuition, had a higher income. The margin is massive because you really don't have as much on the cost of goods. Then the kids became many because my mom is really good at math. So in English, so kids became way too many. So we did a switch. We like, oh, we have too many kids, so we need a switch. How do we make this income like repeatable? So we switched from kids coming with money every time they attend tuition to they're paying a monthly fee, right? Monthly subscription, essentially. So it was like 10,000 shillings at a time per month. So all these kids are paying monthly. So now we have monthly income. Now kids are many. How do you scale? Me, my sister, we are like marking the exercises. We're doing that. So like you kind of scale that way, right? So we created repeatability of the income with that, scaled by having more people in the family teach, like get involved, and so on. So that kind of gave us like a relatively good enough cushion. Now, when you had more money, when you had $35 a month, we would borrow like sugar, rice, and stuff from the shop, right? Because $35 could sustain us for like 2 weeks, and then you have to borrow from the shop an equivalent of the same $35 to live off the next 2 weeks. So then you get a monthly salary, go back and pay the previous debt, and then you borrow again. So it becomes a cycle of borrowing, pay
Yeah.
back, borrowing, pay back, and that cycle never, ever, ever ends, right? So when we started the teaching thing, then we could afford food. Then we're like, okay, we need to buy shoes. People, we need shirts. We need, counter books for school and so on. How do we get that extra money? So we decided to shrink our meals from 2 meals a day to 1 meal a day, but one good meal a day. So we made a conscious decision of saying, look, we don't like there's this thing called like maize. You do like how they
Ugali.
the ugali thing. So it's like maize flour, stiff porridge. So it's maize flour. Keep adding, maize flour to water, it becomes porridge. Keep adding more maize flour, it becomes like this stiff porridge. Terrible, terrible thing. I hate it. So like we don't like this thing. So we'll eat rice and beans and rice and other alternatives. Which, if you do the math between eating 2 shitty meals and one good meal, you crush the expenses, slash the expenses, but the quality of food is good, right? So we had a better
Yeah.
quality of food there. So that was a good thing that we did there, which we expanded the wiggle room by shrinking the expenses as the revenue was going up. The expenses shrunk. So this difference was the savings which you can use to buy things and do other things, right? And then of course that went on. Now in that environment, I did the math. I've always been extremely analytical. So I did the math. Now, my mom would tell her salary, and so have uncles, they had good jobs. I was like, okay, maybe I want this company thing, like my dad. It's gonna take me a long time. I think the easy route is to just get a job, right? So I have to have A's in class. So always had A's. Go become an engineer, get a full-time job, blah blah blah. Like one of my uncles, right? Then my mom, this one day in like 2008, she brought the entire salary. She brought us like the entire salary band of all government employees and all those guys in the government, right? Like every parastatal and government employee. I looked at the thing, like the top, like the salaries were absolutely awful. Like the top, judge, the highest paid person in the entire country were like mostly these
Yeah.
managing directors of parastatals we're getting an equivalent of $7,000, right now with inflation, maybe $6,500 a month.
Yeah.
And to me, I'm like, well, you can't build a mansion with $6,500, right? You can't,
Mm-hmm.
you
Yeah.
can't fly private. You can't do any of the things I want to do with 6,500. So I realized that, okay, there's no future here. Like, this entire thing is doomed. There's no future here. And there's no future in, like, can I scale? Like, full-time employment in US companies, you can get $20,000 a month, $30,000, $50,000, $1 million. Like that, there's no ceiling per se, right? Because I looked at, like, full-time employee salaries abroad, right? It was like, this thing doesn't work. And then if I want to actually get the mansion and that and all these other things, the only avenue that generates that level of cash is business, right? By running business. So that's how I started this part of knowing that I want to run a business. But as a kid, my thinking was, well, I would go corporate first, get experience, and then move on to run a business. So I went, long story short, there ended up doing consulting, a lot of things I've skipped. So before I skip, so there's one step. So I went through that school, through like normal school, found myself in the US, high school, did that, and that for me opened my eyes on like the amount of potential that I have, right? So, I hoped, when I went to the US the first time, I was like, well, I've made it. Now I can get a full scholarship, become a software engineer, work at LinkedIn. That was the dream back then. Work at LinkedIn, Apple, Google, or the like, and then send money back home and everyone will be fine. Of course, I got scholarships, which is like, in the US, college is like $80,000, $70,000, $60,000 a year. But if you get a scholarship, let's say you get a massive scholarship, that's like $30,000, $40,000 a year. So how are you going to pay the next $20,000, $30,000, right? And at the time, my mom was getting $300. So that didn't work, right? Went back home. Then went back home, I started my first business, which was like graphic design and video production. And in graphic design and video production, my angle was, because I came from the US, I have all these laptops and better cameras, better have the Adobe Premium and all these things, Premium and all these things. So great. So I started doing video production for weddings, right? And I was charging very cheap. I was like, $100 per wedding. And the guys would pay $50 up front to shoot the whole thing, edit, and then once I'm ready for the final product, you pay the last $50 to get the final. When you have the last, final product, you're like, okay, send me the last $50. Like, well, I spent all my money on the wedding. Can you do me a favor? And that happened more often, right? Then I learned a lesson on like purchasing power. Like, people can't afford the same thing. They can't pay you the same price as people in the US. I'll do posters for like churches, logos for churches and schools and so on. And then in a church, like our African churches, like you do massive logos for like crusades and campaigns, and you do posters and all that stuff. And then the pastor calls you in front of the church, the whole church stands up, they put their hands. I'm like, I didn't do this work for you to pray for me to succeed. No. Bless the work, the work of his hands. I don't want blessings. I need payments. I want you to pay. Oh goodness. Anyway, so that was a problem. So I ended up shutting down that thing, the graphic design and video production thing. It was like no one was paying, and they were not paying enough and all. So I was like, okay, what can I do? Look for a job. When to look for a job, right? Now the problem is these countries of ours, man. The jobs are not there. Like the countries, there's no economic opportunities for young people, right? So I'm very skilled.
Yeah.
I have graphic. I have access, because when I was in the US, I had the best graphic design class, and I was superior to like everyone in my vicinity, right? So went to find jobs at different companies and all that. Everyone asked me, "Where's your degree?" Right? You need a degree. I didn't have a degree at the time. Well, you can't get a job if you don't have a degree. And if you have a degree, you need 3 years of work experience before we hire you. Well, how can I get work experience if you're not hiring me to begin with, right? Which is a weird
So
thing. Like,
painful.
we need a minimum of 3 year work experience for an entry level role. How can I get the minimum of 3 years of experience if it's an entry level role from which I need to get experience? So I was so confused and depressed. I was like, okay, what did I learn when I was in the US? When I was in the US, high school, my one of my groups, like so at the First Reformed Church, we went to Louisiana, to New Orleans, Louisiana, for like went to build houses for people who are like affected by Hurricane Katrina, right? So that was like I did a lot of volunteering work. So I was like, okay, the way I can break the cycle of you need experience, you can't get a job because the job requires experience, you can't get experience because you need to get a job, was by volunteering, doing stuff for free. Because the basic thing there was all I need to do, I can't stay in the house. Like I can't be in the house. If you're jobless and you're just sitting in the house. I have to get out of the house and be useful to someone else. I don't care if I'm getting paid or not. I just need to be useful because my assessment of purpose is just to be useful. Am I being useful? That's it. If I'm being useful, then I know I'm in motion. Something's gonna work out as long as I'm
Yeah.
right. And how else would I prove to people that I have something of value to offer unless they see me act in action? They have to see me in action, so I need to volunteer, right? Uh, okay, what's the problem around me? A lot of people finish college, high school, whatever, and they don't have jobs, so you're just sitting at home. So we need to do, in my mind, we have land where everyone has a bunch of land, so you can mobilize parents to give up to renters, their lands, pieces for free, and then mobilize these young people. We can do agriculture. We can mobilize companies to donate and set up like water pumps to irrigate and do vegetables and things like that and sell to hotels and restaurants and so on. Started that campaign, door to door, different companies. I got the young guys, but door to door, different companies to get the companies to donate. And people at the companies were very impressed. Like, how old are you? 19. Why are you not in university or something? And so, there's a lot of ageism where, like, if you're too young, they're like, you know your stuff. So I didn't get anyone.
Yeah.
So it's like, how do I get donations and how do I get anyone to take me seriously if I'm faced with this ageism problem and I don't have these credentials that people want me to have. So I went and joined the youth of the United Nations, right, association. So this thing, United Nations, is like this youth association under it. Joined that and started running massive campaigns. Became very successful, raised, money, did a lot of community development projects with young people and so on. So to me, and I would send those reports to the State Department so they see, this guy that we sponsored to go to high school in the US is back to his home country and doing a lot of, change, right? It's like actually not being used to his community, right? And those guys end up, giving me an opportunity to go to Indonesia. So I found myself in Indonesia. From Indonesia, they gave me another opportunity to go to Lehigh University in the US. And at Lehigh is when I got that exposure into the world of business. So, my experience in the NGO world was, you can't keep relying on donations to run things, right? So it's not sustainable, going to run out of cash, blah, blah, blah. And the people who are getting their businesses set up because of donations, they intrinsically aren't driven to generate profit and sustainable cash, for their businesses. So the best way I saw was help large companies, invest across multiple markets in the world and expand their supply chain, expand their value chain. By doing so, you'll be enabling, small businesses and medium-sized enterprises along the way to get more business. If they get more business, they hire more people, and that expands. So I started doing that consulting. Did that for like 8 years. Along the way of, along my consulting experience, that's when from day one I saw the problem of these companies don't have decision systems, right? So they're billion-dollar companies, multi-billion-dollar companies, but they're not operating. They're using instincts and experience and just gut calls to make decisions on massive things, and that can cost them millions of dollars and more, right? So my work started like, how do you build a good decision system to help companies, generate their desired results? And that led to data. They have a data problem. For data that they need from consumers, they don't have it. It's very difficult to get. Highly verifiable, highly accurate data at scale and depth. And then on the other side, for the data that they already have, they don't have correct technology to uncover signals from that data. So you have all this data and you're still losing market share. You're still losing customers. You're still providing terrible service because you're not uncovering correct signals. And that led us to eventually, start Razi with my co-founder Eric to solve that problem. And the problem started with, making data available, using data to train our AI system, which is Senna, and Senna helping companies with uncovering signals, correct signals from data, which is to help them know what's happening, what that means for their business, what they should do, and then how to execute. So that's like the short, long story there on like the evolution from
short, long story.
Not long story.
That's 30 minutes of.
That's 30 minutes of background because like the problem with people. The reason I did that is if you talk to like people who are like running big companies and whatever, and you ask them, how do you start a business? Like, I was in school, and they make it so light and simple, so you don't have correct context of like what's going on through this person's mind.
How did you? Yes.
Like what's going on to their minds to actually push them, and when they're facing all these setbacks, what's keeping them, alive, and what's keeping them on their feet? So if you give context, it helps someone understand the actual like drivers behind that. I'm saying we lost Alex. Where is Alex?
Yeah, I'm texting him now. He even just called me now. I'm telling him that he should try and rejoin. That it's network.
Gotcha.
So yeah. So that was like 30 minutes of going deep into what's made you actually, which is actually very like it made sense basically, because if you ask most of all these rich guys, especially the Nepo babies, when you ask them, how did you start business? They don't start with the fact that they had like a $20 million capital.
Exactly.
Or they had
exactly.
something.
My dad gave me a small loan of $1 million. Yeah.
So they don't start the stories like that. Or they'll first start with just build the right connection.
Yes,
what connection?
They
what
do some vague stuff. Exactly.
They just put some vague stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
Anyway, I technically have like a gift for someone, or let me just say for two people. Anybody that can sit down and get a lesson and do a video based on what Joseph has said from here, from just this 30 minutes. This is before we jump into the questions that people have asked. If you can tell me what you learned in a 30 seconds to 1 minute video from what Joseph has said, I would buy 2 of Joseph's books for that person. Just putting this out there so that I will buy the soft copy for 2.
Oh, by the way, the book is this one. Yeah, the book she's talking about is this: Never Stay Broke.
Yeah.
So Never Stay Broke.
This is the book.
Never Stay Broke.
Never Stay Broke.
Yeah, Never Stay Broke is the book I just released this month. So I go deep into details, which we'll talk about some of those things here on how to go from absolute zero. And I have experience in this, right? So I'm not talking to like, how, a lot of rich guys are like, you just have to believe in yourself. You have to, and then like, well, have you ever been hungry? Have you ever gone without food? Have you ever borrowed like a matchstick to light fire? Have you been that low, right? So you don't know, because these guys who are telling you to, trust in yourself, try, keep knocking on these doors, they'll open. I'm like, well, you had money, and it's fascinating to me because I'm like, and you get like a lot of missing pieces, which assume, all these motivational books or motivation, whatever, they assume you're in a certain level. So maybe you have a car, maybe you have this, you have like a certain basic stuff, and then you can go from there and go up. But in this book, I talk to everyone across different levels. And one of those levels is someone who is like completely at zero, like zero. No money, no connections, nothing. Just you, yourself, and Yeah, and then you can start from that point, and then
And, and your God.
yeah,
You
you're
yourself
God.
and your
Exactly,
God,
exactly,
basically.
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Because yeah, and which is why I'm saying if you can just give me a lesson that you learned. I don't want to say okay, let's do moral lesson and all of that, but if you learned something, just do a video, tag us on YouTube, do a short video, tag us on YouTube, and you will get two people will get a copy of that book from me. This is not from anybody. This is not from Lifestyle Mapping. This is
Nice.
like from me because me myself I've learned a lot too. So
So,
this is from
are
yeah,
we,
Alex.
am I
Oh,
permitted
Alex
to
is not
answer
here. Alex
too?
hasn't
I
joined.
cannot answer.
No, 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 you are not permitted to answer. No, Alex, no.
Oh, you're muted. Okay, okay, okay. Hold on, because I'm not seeing his video.
No, Alex is asking if he's permitted to answer, do the video by himself too, so that he
Oh,
can win the book.
oh yeah,
And I'm
yeah, yeah.
saying no,
He's not
he's
permitted
not
to.
permitted.
But he can do the video. No, he can do the video, but he's not gonna qualify for the prizes, right?
He's not going to qualify, yeah.
Uh,
What's the struggle
this
with
is over moon.
is not joining? What's the struggle there?
Yeah. So okay, let's start with the first question. We have a lot of
Wait,
questions
before you
from
proceed,
different people.
what's
Okay.
Alex's struggle with joining back in?
I think he's joined. He's joined his network. Maybe you're not just seeing him.
Mm,
He's joined already.
okay, because I
Yeah,
can't
he's
hear
joined.
or see. Okay,
And I can hear him.
you can hear
Yeah, I
him.
can hear him.
Okay,
Yeah, I can hear him. I don't know why. Maybe
can
his
he
network is
join?
just
Are you
slow.
guys in the same office building?
Yes, we're in the same office building. Okay, he should come and meet me here
Yes,
instead,
yes.
right?
Because this happens to
Okay,
him
Alex,
all
can
the
you come
time.
and meet me? Yes, this
This
happens.
happens to him.
Yeah, it's part of the culture shock.
Yeah, Nigeria experience.
Yeah, it's part of the culture shock. So when he comes, we'll just like there is a chair beside me, so he will
You
just
guys
join me.
can do
Just like the way we did.
side by side.
Yeah, just like the way we did last week.
Yeah,
That I went to join
exactly,
him at
exactly.
the end of the yeah. So we have a lot of questions here, but since we've spent like 30 plus minutes answering the first question, we'll not be able to cover all, but I'll just go into one of these questions. So Evans is asking, Evans from Nigeria. And okay, just to shock you, majority of these questions are coming from women. I was so shocked. Like
Interesting.
women want to know more.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes, women
So
actually. I think the highest majority of small businesses are run by women. Yeah,
yes. Yes, yes, I agree.
this makes sense.
I agree. Yeah. So okay, Alex is here. Just okay. So Evans from Nigeria is asking, should I focus on value based pricing or cost plus pricing as a small business owner? He's also asking if he should invest more in ads or building organic customer relationships, and what tools can he use to make his business operations more effective. So does he need an accountant? Does he need to manage his tax by himself or with software? And the best way to budget for unpredictable income. So let me explain where he's coming from with
Mm,
this whole tax issue.
mm,
Our government recently brought up some new tax laws, and I don't think it's really necessarily affecting small business owners, because if you're not making revenue of up to 50 million, right? If you're not making revenue of up to 50 million, you don't necessarily have to pay tax. But people that are in the 9 to 5 space with us, the tax that they're about to tax us is as if we are going to be in America very soon, in
damn,
Nigeria
damn.
or in the UK. It's
Yeah,
about to be a lot. So if you're earning between zero to zero to there's a lot of feedback. Okay, if you're earning between 0 to 1,000 to 800,000 naira, right? You would not be taxed. But if you're earning from 800 to I think 2 million, no, 1.1.5 million or so. I can't remember. You'll be taxed like 10%. But the way it's cut
yeah,
is after the first 800,000, they will charge you tax on like 200,000, like, and that's how it goes. So some people are going to be taxed 10%, some people are going to be taxed
yeah,
15%, some
yeah,
and everybody is shaking
yeah. What's the
because
highest?
everybody's like, oh,
What's the highest?
yeah, it's like I think the highest is like what Either is it 45%?
45 is big. 45 is too much. Goodness, Lord.
Tax charge incoming in Nigeria, because I need to be sure of this
Yeah.
so that we
Give you
uh
correct information.
yes, yes, yes. I don't want us to be dragged. But I need to make sure we get this. So it's sorry, I'm trying to get the new tax laws. Okay. I would have used my phone because I have it saved
It's fine.
somewhere on
It's
my
fine.
phone.
We
Um,
can just continue with the question. There's no need.
yes.
No need to get into the.
So so
Yeah.
so everybody is shaking, but I think I can just answer his question that if a small business owner, you don't need to necessarily worry about like the tax unless you are earning above, like your revenue, you're bringing in above 50 million. So just don't shake
Yeah.
basically. But for the remaining side of the questions, he's asking, should I focus on value-based pricing
Yeah.
or cost plus pricing
Yes.
as a small business owner?
Yes. I think okay. So, value based. So you have value based is only value based. Like value based already has accounted for cost plus, and now it's higher, right? But it's effective based on the product you're selling, right? So and your value proposition, right? So you can apply it to so many products, but you have to have provided enough correct value proposition, and your value proposition needs to meet what the market values. So,
Mhm.
give an example. Yeah, you have to sell something like the way you decide what to sell is by looking at what you personally are spending your current money on. You're spending your money on. So you look at your monthly spend, like last month's spend, September, how much you spend your money on. The rank of the things you spend money on, that's the rank of things you should actually look at creating services or products for. And then you're looking at what people in your house are spending money on, what people in your neighborhood, and so on. That's how you decide what kind of service or product you should sell. That's the first thing. Why? Because you want
Yeah.
the problem is not it's not an observed problem you've observed in the market. The problem should be something you have personally experienced, and to prove that the problem is real, you have to have spent money on solving it. So that's why food, beverages, clothes, beauty products, that's why they are massive selling divisions, because we always spend money on food and beverages, more or less spend money on apparel products like shoes, clothes, and whatever, and we spend money on beauty products,
Mm-hmm.
especially women, right? So and so on. So those things you look at things that we always spend money, rent, and so on. Those things are high value. Then you look at what's different in the way you're rendering your service. Now, is the way you're rendering service, when you start rendering your service in the beginning, you're just doing cost plus, because in the beginning you just want a very low entry barrier for your existing customers, right? So, and you want to test the elasticity of willingness of customers to pay the amount, and the amount they're going to pay is dictated by your the amount of energy and the amount of cost you're going to incur to deliver the same product or service. Then as you have to deliver it perfectly, you have to be a very good person to work with, you have to and so on. You have to have like part of the experience. In the end, we're all buying from humans. So if you're very pleasurable to work with, you're always early, you always over deliver, you always like you're punctual, everything is perfect, right? Then that customer, you're going to retain the customer, so you want to retain them. So the first thing, you want to get them to pay, then you want to retain them, then you want them to start increasing their spend on your product and service over time, to be repeat customers and increase their spend. Then you want them to bring you other people, to talk about you and bring you other people. As your first customer brings in other people, you then have this surging demand. When you have surging demand, your choice is do I always have the energy and bandwidth to service all these customers, or do I need to start increasing the barrier to entry for the customers to control demand? If you have too much demand that you want to tamper, to cool it off, then you start you offer you switch to value-based pricing, right? In the book, I talk about the example of my younger brother, was finished school, no money to continue with school, so he's at home. Then one day he's very good at making yogurt, right? So you get milk from some guys, both like fresh milk, real original milk from some guys. He has his own way of making yogurt differently that makes yogurt uniform and that and so on. It's cold, so he's drinking yogurt, goes outside the house, in a neighborhood, sit outside the house to like sip yogurt and talk to his friends. Then his friends are like, "Can I have some?" He's like, "Well, it's $1." So he priced it. Now the price of the of like that entire process, the real price was like $50, but he like the real price of like if you go to a normal restaurant, the real price of that glass of yogurt is $1. But he just said it's $50, so he just said $1, which is 2x the normal price. But people are like, cool, yes. So bring me, pay the $1. Brought his friend's yogurt, tasted brilliant. Can I get a gallon, which is like a 5-liter gallon of that? So pay $10 for a $5 for a 5-liter gallon, right? And then so on. So the whole thing, you end up having like a massive business. The $1 was something he just said. It's not based on cost because the cost is too low. Like if you do cost plus, it would be $50. But he said $1 because he felt like he doesn't want to do it for sale. So he wants it for himself. So if you're going to spend more energy to sell it, I'll just mark it up massively, and people are willing to pay because he made it really well, right? So that's part of the things you have to take into account if you want to do value-based pricing. Then he asked the question on marketing tools, like should I do ads? Should I do organic?
Yes. Yeah.
Now, in the initial days, like you have to have a good product, and like you have to have the product and services, the products or services you're providing have to be in high demand that you don't need to market them. So if you're creating a business and your first business is some SaaS platform, you've already lost because no one in your neighborhood uses a SaaS platform, right? Like or uses a SaaS platform that that's like a newbie 1-month-old SaaS platform, right? So if don't do anything that's complicated. You have to do a service or a product that someone is willing to pay for right now, today. And if you do it really well and you're very easy to work with and show up on time and deliver what you say, you do what you're going to you do what you said you do and so on, then that person is going to stick around and they're going to bring you more customers. So word of mouth becomes your first engine. And then you have free ad tools like WhatsApp, you have Instagram, like normal social media, you have Instagram and so on. And one thing that I see most people not do is they don't put their work out there. Like, because not putting your work out there hinders the aspect of verifiability. So some people, as word of mouth expands and your initial customers are talking about you, when some people, when they hear you, they want to look at you, look at your face, look at what you're doing. Like, is this guy for real or not, and so on. So how do you counter that? They have like some sort of like concern there. Like, oh, is it real? Should I switch from my current provider? Whether your service is like cleaning houses or doing something, they need to trust you. So you need to overcome that trust out of your immediate circle. And, documenting your stuff on social media, and WhatsApp and being easy to communicate with and so on is your initial way of, getting your brand out there, right? Have this example of like these guys who like clean pools here in the US, or like walk dogs, and they put that stuff on TikTok and all that, which is nice. So people can see a lot of videos of someone cleaning pools, Like, okay, I'd like this person to come clean my pool, right? And so on. So that's how you want to like kind of position yourself. And then eventually getting to ads, like just for context, at Razi, we hadn't done marketing. We started doing marketing, like customer facing marketing. We're starting to do it this year, right? But for the first, 4 years, we haven't done customer facing marketing. It was mostly, normal sales and referrals from existing customers and so on. So you want to first, deliver your promise. If you're known, word of mouth will just get you far. And then you can add on social media and WhatsApp and so on.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So just to counter what I said, it's not 45%, it's 25%. So 0 to 25%. Yeah.
That's
I
fair.
think
25% is not
so
bad.
that's it. Yeah, well, it depends on how much you're earning.
You
By
have
the
to
time
pay
you're
taxes. You
dropping
can't get all your money home like that. You have to start paying taxes. Like we've been paying taxes here in the US for a long time. Like you have to pay taxes. Like
I
you want
agree.
zero
But the
taxation.
problem but you know the problem with the problem is, would they use the tax for what it's supposed to be used for?
I mean,
But
but
that's another discussion.
yeah, that's not a discussion though. That's not a discussion.
that's
Yeah, that's not a discussion. But taxes,
that's
taxes,
the that's
taxes
the
are to be
Africa culture
yeah,
shock.
taxes are to be expected.
All right. So somebody Elizabeth from Ghana, she's asking, how do you safeguard your capital when your income is less than your expenditure?
How do you safeguard your capital? So it means you have a business capital, but you want to use it for your
Yes.
personal uses, right?
Yes.
Okay, so rule number one, your income should never, ever, 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 ever be less than your expenditure. Are we talking business or are we talking personal?
I think the person is talking business actually.
Okay, so two scenarios. So personal, your income should never be less than your expenditures. Business wise, your income can be less than your expenditures, hence needing external capital, right? Now, I have rules. You, in the beginning, at point zero, you do not have the luxury as a business to have a lower income than your expenditures. Who do you think you are? In that case, like, well, are you rich enough to raise money? If you're not, why are you running a
Mm,
business whose income is less than expenditures? That's misguided. You're not supposed to be running a business whose income is less than your expenditures. When we started Wazi back in the heyday, we made profit. Like we made profit from year one. You have to make a profit because if you don't have external funding, well, what do you think is going to happen if you don't have a profit? Like you don't have like it's not possible to not have a profit if you don't have external funding, right? Because then
yeah.
people do that on purpose. So this is a psychological thing. I hear people say, "Oh, like when you write those essays, you're like, oh, lack of capital." Like lack of capital is never an excuse for someone not going in business. Like if someone who wants to do business says they can't do a business because they don't have capital, that person is not a business person.
Yeah.
To do a business, you don't need capital. By the way, to do a business, you don't need to register the business, you don't need a website, you don't need employees, you don't need anyone. A business is simply you getting out of your house, going to the neighbor's house, and knocking and saying, I am here. What do you need help with? I can be of value. That is business.
Yeah.
The foundation is just you're rendering services in exchange for money in this case, right? That's business. So when you walk to your neighbor and you clean their house and they pay you, you didn't spend money. You just spent your time and energy and you got paid. And you do that a couple of times, you eventually rack up enough, monetary resources, and you can figure out which gig you want to continue doing, and so on. So now, in the startups, in the higher level setup where you have external capital, but your business has a lower income than the expenditures, you have to calculate your burn rate. So in that case, you have a burn rate and you have a deadline where the business will die if you either don't become profitable or don't raise more capital. In that case, one, you need to have at least, ideally 24 months, right, of runway if you're running that kind of business. Ideally 24 months. If you can more than 24 months, great. So you have 24 months of run, which is 2 years. So you can run your business on a loss for 2 years. As the months shrink, you need to look for ways to, one, pull the business to profitability by shrinking expenses. Two, raise more capital. Or three, do both, right? So, but these two are the levers that you have. The easiest lever is to shrink the company, right? Why are you running the business that's not generating higher income than expenses? Is it
Right.
because you're
Yeah.
investing in technology, you're doing something that's going to pay off big time? Is it because you're spending more in ads to acquire more customers? Like, why is it that the expenses are high? And then of those things that you're doing in expenses, which ones should you start slashing out, right? There's so many business functions that are useless that people have that are not contributing to income. For instance, your sales function needs to be the biggest function because that's how you generate income. Then the delivery of the product. So if you're a tech company, that's engineering, right? If you don't have tech, whatever delivery is, it's like your second important function because that's how you deliver your service. And then you have other things. Now, these other things, you should be able to switch them off if you're forcing the business to profitability, right? Including your salaries, your diet, all these things, bunch of expenses that are not necessary unless your business is doing well. So you just have to do math. You have to have a nice Excel. If you do modeling on your Excel. Modeling is a big word, but it's just simple math on how much cash do I have? What are my monthly expenses? So you take the total cash you have in cash reserves, divide by your monthly expenses. That gives you how many months you have before you die, right? Monthly expenses are not just expenses. Your monthly cash, like the negative cash. So which is you have your revenue, you remove the cost of goods, you have your money minus yours. You remove all your total expenses, then you're in the red. That number, you take all your cash, divide by that number gives you how many months you have to survive before you die. Now, if those months are 3 months, go and crush expenses. Crush the expenses massive until you go back to profitability. If you have 24 months, you start figuring out what ways can you do to expand your income. But yeah, it's just a dance in Excel.
Yeah. All right. We have Benita. Benita is from Nigeria. She's asking, what are some practical ways small businesses in emerging markets can access funding without relying so much on loans?
Don't start a business that requires a loan. Just don't. So you have to look at, there's like a correct way of looking at which business to start. The problem with us people, we went to university, you have your degree, so you look at starting to babysit people's kids is beneath me, right? Starting to like braid people's hair or clean people's carpets, that's like low life work. I'm not willing to do it. But those are the things that people are willing to pay you right now today. You can generate cash immediately. So there are things that people spend on every day. If you track those, including yourself, if you track those things, those are the things that you should be doing. You know what I'm saying? So like the easiest way, if in the book Never Stay Broke, I talk about it, right? So how do you wake up in the morning and come back home with money? I don't care if you did software engineering or you studied to be a doctor. If you want to make money, the things you have to do are the things that are easy and you look down on them all the time. So you just show up at someone's house, go door to door, you show up at someone's house. That person that day is going to spend money. By the way, including yourself. That person is going to spend money. But what are they going to spend money on? Is it for someone to go to the market? Are they going to go to the market? Are they going to, I don't know, like clean their grounds, their compounds? Like what are they doing? Washing their car? Like where are they going to spend their money? So you want to be useful. That is all. Just show up. You have your body. You have time. You want to be useful. You'll get money right there, right? You do door to door. Some people will kick you out, whatever, and then something will break, and you get your payment. So that's like the very very easy like first step. So when you want to build it
Yeah.
as a business, you only look at the things that people are spending money on right now in my neighborhood, starting with from within my house to my neighborhood, and so on. And then of those things, so you start doing them and you stack them, and then you rank them based on the energy they take you to deliver, the profit margin you're generating from each, and then your ability to do them every day, day in, every day, like every working day, which it translates to passion. You're like, is this something I want to do every single day? That's passion, right? So that's three. So then you rank them based on those three things, and then you pick the ones that you want that are at the top, that are ranked high, because you want the one that consumes the least amount of energy, your energy, that costs the least amount of money to deliver, and then that you'd like to do every day. It's fairly straightforward, I'm telling you. Then you're not in the loop of I need loans, I need this to do this. No, no, then you're not in that loop. Something as simple as picking up clothes for people who have ordered clothes and their clothes are at the shop or their stuff is at the shop and you just pick it up and bring it to their office. That's a business. And by the way, like, oh, well, I need a motorbike to do that. Well, you can walk, and so on. Like, there's so many things you can do. Something like, in the US, it's advanced. You can do DoorDash and whatever because you have like cars and things like that. But even in settings where you don't have any of that stuff, something like, washing someone's car and and so on, those are easy stuff. Now, do you want to do it forever? That's where you do that ranking and figure out which one do you want to continuously do and which ones do you want to eventually drop within, after 24 hours, after 2 days, after a week, and so on. So I'll tell people all the time,
Right.
don't do something that requires initial capital that requires resources that you don't already have.
Yeah. So I like the way you're answering all these questions because most of the questions that we've gotten are just around what you've just answered
Yeah.
right now. And just an
Yeah.
icebreaker because we're already sounding too
Yeah.
serious. Somebody is asking, James from Nigeria. He's saying, I think this one got to him. He said, how can I escape poverty? Because the way I am looking at this thing is becoming generational.
Okay. How can you escape poverty?
Yeah.
So poverty, the problem with poverty, right? Poverty is not like not having money. When you don't have money, people don't look at it deeply. When you don't have money, you end up living in a certain neighborhood, in a certain part of the city or town, whatever. And that part stops exposing you to certain things that you need to see for your brain to figure out solutions. For instance, do you know that if you see a Rolls Royce with your eyes, if you see a mansion with your eyes, your chances of actually getting a better lifestyle, like increases by gazillion percent versus if you've never seen them. So just like laying your eyes on something that is in your future is a way of collapsing the distance between what you want and where you're at, like where you want to be and where you're at. You collapse that distance by just looking. So that's why, like, being in a city, going to a mall and is extremely important. So that's number one. So the problem with poverty is it just puts you in an environment where you don't have access and exposure to certain things. Now, how do you move
Yeah.
the hell out of poverty? So I will introduce you guys to some concepts from physics, but it's not difficult, right? So when you're stationary, when you're not moving, right? You're experiencing static friction, right? So in physics, static friction, which is like essentially it's like you have friction that's stopping you from doing the initial motion, right? In life, that static friction, because in physics, that static friction is because the surface that you're sitting on and blah blah blah. In life, static friction is you telling yourself you can't do it because you don't have a degree, or you can't do it because you don't have experience, or you can't do it because you don't have capital, or people are going to laugh at you if they see you cleaning people's houses, or people are going to find you weird if you put your stuff on social media. etc., 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 etc. That is static friction. Those are the things you're telling yourself and you're experiencing that are stopping you from making the first move, right? What you need to do is separate what you do for a living from who you are. You need to separate it. Cleaning a house and being called an expert house cleaner doesn't mean you're born as a house cleaner and you're born to be a house cleaner, and doesn't mean now you are relegated. No, you can have a giant house cleaning business clocking millions and millions of dollars and become a billionaire, just in billions of dollars, become a billionaire cleaning people's houses. So you have to separate what you're doing from your identity of who you are. This one. Then you need to establish a vision of yourself. Like what people are talking about, a vision is not a dream. Dreams are for old people, and like dreams are not meant to happen, by the way. Like if you guys, so a dream is like, I don't, like I'm dreaming of becoming an astronaut. You and yourself, you both know you'll never be an astronaut. That's why it's a dream. A vision is who you're seeing yourself as, and this is where you're headed. This is what you have. This is what you're going to be. This is who you are. This is how you see yourself, and it's not negotiable. So that's a vision. It's having a vision. Yeah. So when you establish those things, what you need to do, you're in the house dead broke. You need to get out of the house and go become useful. So I didn't say go make money, go there. No. Before you qualify for anyone to pay you anything, you need to be useful to someone. You can be useful to, people who are homeless, people who are the elderly people, orphans, anything. Anyone who needs help, you can go volunteer. Make yourself useful. When you make yourself useful, you're doing two things. One, you're proving to yourself that you have it in you, the potential, the skills, the energy, the smarts to deliver something of value to someone else. That is one thing you're proving to yourself. The second thing, when you become useful, you're showing to the world, hey, this is what I can do. Like, I can do this. This is my value to the world, right? So you just need to get out of the house and go be useful. Do things for free. Be useful. Spend all your energy and time being useful to someone else. That's rule number one. Now, what does it do to a static friction situation? Static friction is stopping you from moving. When you force yourself to move, no matter the expected outcomes, you're creating motion. So your energy spent in time is higher than the negative thoughts, because negative thoughts are always going to be there. So by your actions are higher, the energy you're spending is higher than the negative thoughts that are stopping you from moving. So that difference is causing you to move, right? So that's the first thing. Then once you're useful to people, it's like breaking the ice. You now start, showing up to what I've said, door to door, DM, relatives, here I am. Don't say, hey, I did software engineering, so if you need an app to be built, no one gives a damn. Like, no one cares. You're not saying I can do XYZ. If you need services in XYZ, I can help. If you do that, therefore you're already limiting the things that you're willing to do. No, you're supposed to show up to someone's house and DM people, starting with your relatives and whatever, and say, what do you need done? Like, what's something that you need to be done? What is that thing? And then, okay, I need these things to be done. Okay, so how much are you paying for that? At that point, you don't care. I see a lot of people, which is a weird thing. Someone is dead broke, and then they ask, I want to, get a gig. I want to get a gig. I want to do something. I can help you with your cleaning. I can babysit your kids. I can do something. And then someone's like, well, I don't have enough money. I can pay you $1. And someone's like, oh, I can't work for $1. Can't spend my whole day waiting for $1. You're broke. What are you talking about? You can't work for $1. You don't have a cent. Remember, you're supposed to do something for free, which is proving that you're useful. Then you're supposed to do something for any money, which is proving monetization, and then you can start moving forward. And by the way, people are absolutely misguided. Do you know, for us in the tech world, in the startup world, that's how we operate. You go to the market selling a very, very valuable service for extremely cheap so you can capture market share. Once you have market share, then you start pricing correctly. So Uber did the same thing. Airbnb, same thing. And like any company you know, name it, it did it. It proved to the world that first I'm going to sell you something for cheap, and people are going to get on it. Once they're on it and they understand the value and then they're going to increase the prices. And people are not going to jump off because they've already seen the value. So as an individual, you're supposed to apply the same concept. So that's how you
All
get
right.
out of poverty.
I
If you do
think
this, like look,
yes,
the holes I've come out of, like the depths I've come out of, there's no human on planet Earth who can tell me that, oh, it's not possible, you don't understand my situation. No. Everyone can get to their dreams, can get to the vision that they have of themselves, not dreams, the vision that you have of yourself. Every single human being on the planet can do it. And if you have a vision for yourself, you can get there. You just need to be in motion and now break down these things, like, thinking you're above this. Oh, I can't do a job for $1. I can't do a job for $0.50. Well, your customers, the person who is your market, is only able to pay you $0.50. So if you say you can't do it, no one who is paying you $100 is going to give you a job, right? So you have to take things seriously on this point and correct the act. Now, the thing with poverty, I need to speak a bit more on this one. In my book, I've explained the framework of work done, right? So the work done framework is also borrowed from physics. In physics, this is secondary school physics. We say work is said to be done if a force of 1 Newton moves a mass of 1 kilogram through a distance of 1 meter in the direction of the force. Keyword there is in the direction of the force. So in physics, if you push on the fridge, push with all your energy, everything you've got in your entire life, and the fridge doesn't move an inch, you haven't done anything. If you're trying to push the fridge forward and you push with everything you've got for 3 hours and the fridge only goes left, you haven't done anything. Physics work done, 0. Okay. How does it apply to life? You wake up every day, you hustle day and night, blah, 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 blah. 5 years later, you're in the same position or even in a negative position from where you started. You haven't done anything. Your vision of yourself is, let's say, a certain lifestyle in a certain house type with a certain environment. You've worked your ass off for years and years and years. 10 years down the line, nothing. Doesn't count. Now, what counts? The force is your energy. The mass you're trying to move is your life. The distance is time, right? So you're spending your energy moving your life across time in the direction of your vision. So you have to have had your vision of yourself. The vision of yourself is not looking at Elon Musk has $500 billion, so therefore I want to have $500 billion. That's not your vision. You have to be honest with yourself. And everyone, don't tell me I don't have a vision of myself. Everyone does. And how do you know your vision of yourself? Who you hang out with, how you dress, how you show up, how you spend your time. Look at your YouTube history. That's the vision of yourself. That's how you see yourself. And that's what I'm talking about. So if you see yourself as X, are you spending your energy every time you wake up before you all the way to sleeping? Are you spending every energy that you have in the direct to push, to move your life through time in the direction of your vision? If you go clubbing and you're going to a concert, is that pushing you in the direction of your vision? Well, do you want to be a DJ? That's why you're clubbing. Or are you clubbing, people drink and club to like kind of ease their mind? Is easing your mind helping you push towards the vision you have of yourself? If you spend most of your money, you spend most of your money doing like family gatherings and things like that, or traditional things, Is that fueling the vision you have of yourself? It may be fueling the vision you have of yourself. You just have to be honest with yourself. Like, are you doing actions that are feeding, that are moving you towards the vision you have of yourself? And you'll find that in some instances, certain things aren't in service of that, so you shouldn't be doing them. You know?
All right. I think this was the best question we can end with, basically. Especially with the book that says how not to stay broke, and the person is asking about poverty, and I think I know that this is not like the normal lifestyle mapping podcast session that we have. Like, everything is fun, every time we like to laugh. But I think sometimes let's just sit down and just be serious with ourselves. Everybody wants to talk about lifestyle, everybody wants to talk about, oh, my relationship, this, my, we are going to get back to that. But just know that this is a special episode.
And we
And
can talk about,
as
like,
time
this
goes
thing
on,
applies to relationships as well. Like, well, people complain a lot, like, well, I have this
yeah.
relationship, it's not going well. Well, did you select the person you're in a relationship with based on the vision you have of yourself? You know what I'm saying? Like, I can go controversial here, but I'll tame myself. But you know what I'm saying? Like, you have to understand, every single human being has agency over their own lives. I have grown up
Yes,
the way I've grown
true.
up
I
from my life
agree.
experience I've learned. I never blame my parents. I never blame my siblings. I never blame any human being for the outcomes of my life. So if your life, like, wherever your life ends up, that's just like the external experience you're having is a product of your internal, like, of your mind, of how you're seeing yourself. People say the government did this, that's why my
Yeah.
external environment. Like, for instance, currency devaluation. Governments will do terrible monetary policies and the currency is going to collapse, putting people into poverty. Those are external forces, right? But my thing is, you, yourself, the person, what are you spending your time in, and how are you seeing yourself? Is that how you're seeing yourself? You know what I'm saying? So like,
Yeah.
if 99, my mom taught us when we were village kids and we were like heading cattle. My mom told us, people were laughing at us. You guys thought you were there. And my mom told us, look, reality is the one that you have in your own mind. Like, the daydreaming, that reality you have in your mind, that's the actual true reality. The external world is not yours. The external world is not your reality. So when you dwell in your internal view of yourself, what we talk about in physics, you force your internal reality to collapse into the external world, and the external reality you're experiencing matches the internal view of yourself, right? It may be a heavy lift for so many people, so go back to focusing on being useful and better and so on. But if you can catch that, you understand there's no one else on planet Earth that you have to blame. Like, there's no one to blame. There's no one. If you stop blaming any human being, if you stop blaming anyone, so zero people to blame, you start working just on yourself. But by myself, I have all the agency I need. I can get myself out of this situation. Then, and you start doing the actions and so on. Then over time, it may take time, by the way. It's going to be like 5 years, 10 years, and I'm not saying then you become a billionaire. No, like, that's assuming being a billionaire is the vision you have of yourself, and you're willing to continuously spend energy to get there, which is not for everyone. And it's not a good thing or a bad thing. Like, everyone has their own path, right? The path that they decide for themselves. So that's my worldview.
We need to have a special class with Joseph, because he has killed it. He has killed it in this episode, and I know that there will be a lot of
But
clapping in the comment
where is
section by the
Alex?
time we are done.
Alex is missing in action.
He's I don't know. You should be seeing him.
No, I'm not.
He's here. Like, he's literally close to me, but he joined with his phone. This is
I don't
him.
see him. Even on our call
I was
here.
seeing you all this while.
Oh, okay. But
I was seeing you all this while, Joseph.
I was
Yes, he was seeing
even
you.
on the people part, like in the recording thing, it's not showing you, like, you're not there. Anyway, it's fine.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And the internet is
the
internet is quite
as
tricky
always,
today.
as always.
Yes, as always. Yeah. All right. So thank you very much, Joseph. We're already at the guys. Don't forget, 2 people are going to win this book. All you just have to do is just say, what you've learned from like this podcast. This is a special episode, and maybe one of these days we'll go live so that we'll just talk and people will just join. We'll just talk and people will be asking us questions in real time because we can actually join live here. So we'll just keep talking and we'll be live and on YouTube and people will just be asking us questions, and it's just going to be fun, especially when we get real life questions asked like while we are speaking.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. All right,
All
guys.
right. Thank you so
Cheers,
much.
everyone.
Thank you so much,
Bye.
guys.
All right.
Bye.